That's so. I was just listening to a podcast on the way here, and have you heard of the IPCC?
No.
They're like this body that's funded by the UN. That they're a team of I think 260 scientists. Their only job is to report on climate change. And they release this big report. I think it's once every 4 years or once every 3 years, and it essentially says everything you want to know about climate change. Like it is the creme de la creme. And so they reported the financials in the situation, and there's lots of different topics. But when it comes to economics, which is what we're kind of talking about, I'm by no means an expert, but they worked out that to help Africa, the continent of Africa, curb their climate change, it costs about $15 billion. 15 to 33 billion. Now, that's not a little bit of money. In the grand scheme of the global GDP, it's not a huge amount. But they said the cost of not doing it was actually $200 billion. Because if you don't fund this, and now all of a sudden your bottom line, which a lot of countries get their products from Africa, whether it's mining products or whether it's agricultural products, fishing, all of this impacts, and then all of a sudden they cop a lot of climate related events because that's just where they're located. Unlucky. So now your bottom line is affected. You didn't want to pay this money, but now this affects you directly. And it's so funny how you talk about this small decision that you're making, which it is at the end of the day cutting your bottom line. It's lowering your margins. Yeah. But for and I'm going to take a really philosophical approach and deep approach, because I think everything affects everyone profoundly. For your friend, who I hope has a good soul, who has this bottle company that makes these bottles. Now, you've supported her business. Now, she can go on helping other people remove plastic bottles from their lives, which lessens Australia's, because that's where we are, lessens Australia's plastic production, which means less plastic ends up in, a lot of our plastic ends up in Philippines and Indonesia, which means less pollution for these lower socioeconomic countries. And that's one decision you've made, which can create this huge cycle, the butterfly effect. Yeah. Everything affects everything, whether it's our minds. So that little note, having a positive impact, because anyone can make an impact. Everyone's making an impact every day. But a positive impact, that's do you have any other nuggets like that for us?
Well, just staying on what you were saying, it jumped into my head, like that little decision, how it then ripple effects onto, you were saying if they don't make that investment now, in the future it's going to be worse.
Yeah.
Think about your health. If you don't make the investment to stay healthy, move your body, go to whatever it may be, in the long term, you're probably going to have a lot of problems. It's going to cost you more money in the long term. If you don't regularly service your engine's probably going to break down. You're probably going to have to get a whole new car, which it could have just costed you $400 a year to fix and keep the upkeep on. So I look at it in that sense as well. Like if I'm not looking after my mind and my body, that's going to obviously compound and lead to something. It's you get to this decision of, do you want it to go in the positive way or the not so positive way? What are you putting your efforts towards and your mindset towards? Because that will then, those steps will just keep compounding and rippling effect from there. Like shopping at different places, like going to a farmer's market as opposed to your big chains. It's not saying that one's wrong, one's right, but every choice
makes a difference.
Comes with consequences. It's either going to be a positive one or a not so positive. We have a choice every day whether to use the plastic, whether not to. Whether to what foods we buy, what we put into our body,
how we get to work, all that. What we think is a big one, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, you looking after your mind, your body. Like for me, being in alignment, right? And it's not saying that alignment is something that's one thing for everyone. Like I said before, it's going to be different for everyone. But that alignment is where you can then choose to make decisions that you want to make. You're not having to just react because that's the only choice you have at that time. If you're centered and grounded, you can go, what do I want to do with my life, with my choices, with this decision or with this challenge that's been brought upon me?
Yeah.
That's how we make better choices. My mum always says it to my nieces and nephews, are you making good choices? And they stop and think and they go, oh no, I'm actually being a little shit. Like I can probably be nicer here.
That's a